So you don't care that they just
You're
committed
using that
endless...
to generate more likes on your fake social media as a fake journalist? Good job with that. I hope you sleep well at night, man.
Our elected officials don't even hide their contempt for regular Canadians anymore. Anyone who dares question their decisions or hold them to account is automatically attacked and vilified. But that's only scratching the surface. So the Liberal convention is happening right now in Montreal, and the footage that's coming out of it should concern us all. You don't want to miss this. My name is Ali Daniel, and this is the Right Call Report. Like, share, subscribe. Any interaction on the channel helps get the truth out, and perhaps someday break that CBC-induced coma that so many Canadians are under, and also perhaps piss off these politicians just a tad bit. And if you're tired of that same old government and media BS and finally want some common sense commentary, well then smash that subscribe button because you found the right place. So we're lucky to have a few independent journalists right now on the ground in Montreal for the Liberal convention, and they've been recording some quite shocking stuff coming out of there from the supporters and the delegates that seem to be absolutely not there in the head, to our elected officials that are continuously showing how much they really hate you and I. Then we got to look into the floor crossers, not so much the people, but what's happening behind the scenes, because to me, it's every aspect of corporate tactics and investment bank / private equity strategies being used to undermine Canada. And then we have to look into the newest member of the alphabet community, because there is new letters being added to the ever-increasing length of acronyms, and it's turning Canada into a laughingstock internationally. We are just becoming a big parody, and this is kind of hilarious. We got to look into it. And stick around, because this report is part hilarious, part depressing, and definitely a little wild. A couple weeks ago, we had the NDP convention, which gave rise to some incredible gems.
Well made, Speaker. I'll again thank delegates not to call me Madam Chair or Madame la Présidente. I'm a non-binary person. My pronouns are they, them, and their. Chair is sufficient.
The ears still get me, but anyways. Today, it's the Liberals' turn. The Liberal convention is happening right now in Montreal, and it's given rise to perhaps not this level of lunacy, but a little bit of an insight in what's going on inside the minds of Liberals, if anything is going on at all, because it looks like a sea of NPC. Look at that, it rhymes. But most importantly, it also showcases the disdain and the absolute contempt that the Liberal Party has for Canada and Canadians. Let's begin first with a ghost from the past that came back out from underneath Katy Perry to haunt us all.
The Liberal Party has always been ambitious for Canada and for Canadians, and in these complicated times, that's never been more important. And our global leadership has rarely mattered more, so keep thinking big. I am really excited to see what you can all accomplish under Mark's leadership this weekend and for the years to come. But remember, the Canada we've built together didn't happen by accident and won't continue without effort. It takes hope and hard work, but we're Liberals. We got this. Bonne fin de semaine, mes chers amis, et à la prochaine.
Is it weird for me to say I kind of missed the guy? I mean, he was just a walking meme. Look at that smirk. Look at that smile. He was so easy to make fun of. Carney, it's a little bit different. He's like cold calculated and incredibly wise. This guy was just a doofus. But I want to bring back what he just said there, because I mean, the irony or just the gaslighting is quite intense.
Remember, the Canada we've built together didn't happen by accident and won't continue without effort. It takes hope and hard work.
The Canada we built did not happen by accident. That I agree with you, pal. The systematic and deliberate destruction of our once great country definitely took some hard work. But it's the fact that they still continue this entire premise that Canada is this beautiful place that is just an oasis and a gem of the world, disregarding every single key metrics, comparing us to other G7 countries, or even worse, OECD countries, that's the top 34 economies of the world, showing that we are dead last. Like, the last decade of Liberal rule has been nothing but losses for Canada. But don't worry, as long as it's said with a big fat smile and a little bit of charisma, Liberals are just licking it all up. Let's go, Canada. We need more destruction, more hope, but more destruction. Now, there's a couple conservative independent journalists that are on the floor, and I mean, kudos to them for having the grit to go there and go deep behind enemy lines, because to be honest with you, I've just been hiding. Like, I mean, I feel there's a dark cloud over Montreal. I don't want to be part of any of this. But they're in attendance right now, and the footage that's been coming out from interviews with delegates, with MPs, with ministers of the crown, it's quite concerning. No logic, no reasoning, no critical thinking, just pre-digested, party-approved talking points. It gives off mass NPC psychosis vibes.
The greatest thing that
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did for Canada?
Okay, guys, you're asking me a lot of questions right now.
Oh, that's a very hard question, guys. You know, the most basic premise of them all. But, you know, if you can't define why you support someone, be careful. That's a hard question. Too many IQs are required for this.
Well, there's a bunch of different things that he did. First and foremost, he
Why do I feel like this is going to be a word salad that says absolutely nothing? Oh,
was a well-spoken, well-polished, and an integral leader, from what I believe.
okay, cool. Just character stuff. What about accomplishments?
I believe that he spoke for many of the cultural mosaics of Canada, and what that meant. I know that multiculturalism was a huge thing, and I know that a lot of people voices were reflected throughout his period.
What about if he spoke for, I don't know, Canadians themselves? Why do we have to speak for the French minority at all times? Why not put the interests and the desires and the well-being of, I don't know, say Canadians first? After all, you're the Prime Minister of Canada. Apparently, that's way too much to ask for. And way too much for them to understand.
So I know I can say that. Yeah.
So that's a great start. You know, I learned a lot from her answer. Thank you.
Are you a liberal?
Why am I a liberal? Oh, that's a good question. I think
That's a good question. Oh, man, we're not going deep here. This is not some philosophical question. This is just really basic. Why am I a liberal? Say, why am I a conservative? Because I love freedom. All right. And I believe in small government. And I believe that the economy should be leading first and foremost above everything else. So, and I also want Canada to stay the way it was, not to evolve into a dystopia. That's why I'm a conservative. Look how hard of a freaking answer that was to give. Are you ready for perhaps, I don't know, some big brain answer here?
mostly because of foreign policy, but also because of economics. I studied poli-sci and political communication.
Color me surprised, a poli-sci student. I'm actually, yes, I am surprised. I normally poli-sci students end up in the NDP or worse, the Greens or the Communist Party of Canada.
I'm in law school now, and I think, the Liberal Party is the party of the Charter, the party that repatriated the Constitution. I think there's a lot.
The party of the Charter? This has to be a joke. The party of the Charter. I mean, it's the party that was found to have violated the Charter the most. This is not some conspiracy theory. The courts have validated that they've infringed the Charter of Rights twice, okay? Twice, at a lower court and an appeals court. And now to the point where they have to go to the Supreme Court because the government just won't admit that they violated your most fundamental right. But guys, don't worry. This poli-sci major here thinks that it's the party of the Charter.
There that's tied intrinsically into Canadian identity.
What do you think Canada's biggest issue right now is?
I think it's
Donald Trump. I bet you he's going to say Donald Trump. It has to be.
I think it's our biggest neighbor, unfortunately. I think we're dealing with a lot of things that are, kind of macro, like affordability, housing, but those aren't unique to Canada. They're happening everywhere. But I think what's going on south of the border is making it a little high pressure for us.
That's what I mean when I say they're NPCs, right? It's, again, disregard everything you see. Just blame the next scapegoat, right? The next boogeyman. Everything that's going bad in Canada, it's because of Trump, or it's because of Ukraine, or it's because of Iran, or it's because of Harper back in the day, or because of the Rona. It's never just because, I don't know, it's been 11 years now of one party passing piss poor policies. It's not their fault, guys.
Why am I liberal?
Yeah.
Because the party takes a positive view on where we should head for the future.
It's all about words. It's all about words. As long as you tell them that we're going in a nice place, people are just going to buy it. They're going to buy it. They don't look at actions. It just goes to show. I bet you this guy is the type of man that tells like his kids, if he has any, actions speak louder than words. But then he turns around and he looks at 11 years of failure and he's just like, but he's telling us we're going in the right place. So we must be going in the right place.
What makes it positive?
It's about looking forward and how we can build things as opposed to just trying to tear people down all the time.
Tear people down all the time. Isn't that again the party that called for certain people to be jailed or to be chastised, to be banished from civilization, from society if they did not comply with their made up rules? Je dis ça, je dis rien. I'm saying this, I'm saying nothing. That's such a French expression. Digress.
What do you think Canada's biggest issue right now is?
That's a big question.
Another big question, guy. Big brain answers are inbound.
I think misinformation is actually one of the big issues these days. And there's a lot of misinformation getting spewed all over the world. And I think that we need to sort of take a stand against that. I think it's a great place to live here. And there are a lot of people who are saying it's not a great place to live. And I mean, that's nonsense. And so we have to work against that.
You heard it first. It's nonsense. If you think that Canada is not a great place to live anymore, it's nonsense. You're misinformation. And I bet you this guy wants to silence you. You know, as a matter of fact, I bet you this person has never actually left Canada, never gone abroad, never lived anywhere else. I've lived in several countries. I've lived in Europe, in Portugal. I've lived in Florida, in the US, and I've lived across Canada, Montreal, Kingston, Toronto, Gloucester, and in Alberta as well, Fort Mac and Edmonton. I've traveled to 32 countries. I've seen a little bit, and I'm not going to say Canada is like Afghanistan. You know, we're not at that level, or Haiti. We're not a failed state quite yet, although it might be coming soon. However, Canada is not what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The Canada that this man grew up in is not the Canada of today. And I don't know what's worse. The fact that he's repeating, again, government-approved lines that Canada's a great place, and if you say otherwise, you're misinformation, or the fact that he can't, even with his own eyes, comprehend the decline that's happened. He's had the front row seats. He's clearly a boomer. He's seen it firsthand. There's no way that over a casual beer, you can't sit this guy down and say, okay, well, how was Canada back when you were 20 or 30 years old? And he's going to tell you all these great things. And then you're going to be like, is it the same today? I bet you he won't be able to say yes. There's going to be cognitive dissonance, like things going on in his head. And what's even more concerning is that he says that we need to tackle misinformation. Anyone who says Canada is not a great place is clearly spewing misinformation. Well, this is a liberal proposal that is going to be passed, or they're going to try to pass it at the convention, asking a committee to be formed at the government level to study and eventually recommend ways to combat disinformation and misinformation. They're not even hiding it anymore. It will be controlling the narrative at all cost, and if you dare question anything, even so much as factual data, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears, believe the party. This is 1984 dystopian future in the works.
Why are you a liberal?
Why am I a liberal? Well, because I believe in liberal values. I believe in justice and equality and prosperity and
justice and equality. Is it justice and equality when you give lighter sentence to certain people due to their background or their, the place they were born in? Isn't justice and equality supposed to be blind? Isn't it supposed to be that we're all on the equal footing and you're treated under the law the same? Again, the irony. They cannot even see just how freaking ironic their statements are, or just flat out wrong.
that when we support everyone across the country is stronger. I believe strongly in national values and being civil and respectful. So it just fits into the liberal kind of box, right?
What do you think Canada's biggest issue right now is?
Oh, well, I think we have to think about trade. We have to think about the economy, and we have to think about our security, right? That's it.
You know, at least I'll give it to her. I'll give her credit. Like, she came up with decently reasoned thoughts. Like, she was coherent. She was not like, oh, this is a hard question. But again, I bring up the same question, the economy. We need to focus on the economy. It's been 11 years. Why isn't the economy the best? If the party you support is supposedly so good, I get it. Look, it can take a few years to put policies in place for things to happen. I get that. It's been 11 years. When does this economy happen? When does it happen?
Why are you a liberal?
Why am I liberal? Because I was a liberal and then I wasn't a liberal. Now I'm back being a liberal because of Mark Carney. I think he's the right person for the right job, for the right time, and the right things that he will do. So that's why I'm back as a...
How? Give me details, because again, that's just slogans. That's what the CBC literally verbatim said over the air for the last year. He's the right man at the right time for the right job. How? What are his competencies? What has he done so far? It's been a year, by the way. He's been in charge in a party that's been in charge for 11 years. What has changed? So far, it's off to a rough start for the Liberals. Their party members don't quite seem to have, the level of intellect needed to justify just about anything. But let's continue, because there's so many more gems to dig up.
This could summarize Prime Minister Mark Carney in one word. What would that word be?
Amazing.
One word, Carney, fantastic.
Oh, beauty. Competent.
Practical.
Je dirais que le mot que j'utiliserais, ça serait efficient.
Efficient?
Daddy.
Sorry.
What the hell is what? Daddy? I mean, he does have the age of his daddy, but like, what? I keep saying that Canadians have this like, oh my God. I keep saying that Canadians have like this master/slave fetish. It's all about being governed, govern me harder. Govern me harder, daddy. Well, like, I've been joking about that, but when you get answers like that, oh my God, it gives credence to it. Man, you're making my job too easy.
Daddy, he looks cool, right?
Daddy, okay.
He looks cool. Oh my God. Him and I have vastly different definitions of cool.
Liberal.
Liberal?
Wow, big brain answer. Carney, liberal. At the Liberal Convention for the Liberal Party.
Reliable.
If you could summarize Prime Minister Mark Carney in one word, what would that word be?
International.
You know what? He's not wrong. International. Hell, this man he's got a point. Carney has been pretty much internationally all over the place, more so than he's been in Canada over the last year. And definitely over the last decade when he was not even in Canada, he was living abroad. His family, from what I garner, is also not really in Canada much. So good man right here. I'm giving him that was a good answer. Well done.
I'm still thinking. It's a good one though. A leader.
The right person for the times.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Decisive.
Excellent. Amazing.
Competent. Confident.
Effective.
Right track.
That's 2 words, pal. Oh my god, and I had to not gonna make that joke. Not making that joke.
Pardon me, gentlemen, if you could describe Prime Minister Mark Carney in one word, what would that word be?
He is today's Prime Minister and leader.
Same thing with Carney in one word. What you could describe Prime Minister Mark Carney in one word? What would that describe Prime Minister Mark Carney in one word? Describe Prime Minister Mark Carney in one word.
One word. One word. That was the task. That was the assignment.
What would that word be?
He is today's Prime Minister and leader.
Same thing with
Times 2. Oh my god. Again, I won't make the joke. You know the joke. I'm not making the joke. So that's enough for the party members. I think we've seen what we needed to see. Let's go a little bit more to the elites, the party elites, the ministers and the MPs, because they had a few things to say as well.
A lot of conservative MPs are crossing the floor. Do you think Poilievre should maybe be one of them?
Poilievre would not be accepted in the Liberal Party, so I don't see that happening at all.
Well, why not? I thought it was a big tent and everyone's welcomed. Oh, and for those who don't know, this is Bruce Franjoy. He's the MP who stole the writing from Poilievre and Carleton.
There needs to be shared values in order to have a political party, and I don't think there are shared values between Pierre Poilievre and the Liberal Party.
But there is shared values between the Liberal Party and Marilyn Gladu. The one MP from the Conservatives who was, by all account, probably one of the most fringe to the right extremist party member. So she's clearly shared value with the Liberals and welcome inside the big tent. We're going to talk about that after. But Pierre Poilievre does not share value. Again, the irony. It's these guys don't get it. Now let's look at Transport Minister, or Cabinet Minister. Let's go up a notch. Stephen McKinnon. Talking about Finance Minister Philippe Champagne's conflict of interest with the Alto high-speed rail. Are you ready for some big brain answers once again?
The Finance Minister, Philippe Champagne, really recused himself from the high-speed rail Alto.
Because he said he did, and because he's a man of integrity. And
that's it. Just take it at face value. He said he recused himself. Must be true.
A man absolutely devoted to our country and its future.
With all due respect, I don't think saying I recuse myself actually recuses, did he really step aside?
Again?
This reminds me of The Office. I declare bankruptcy!
I declare bankruptcy!
And you can, these are solemn undertakings. We have the most stringent ethics guidelines in the world. And Mr. Champagne follows those very rigorously.
Stringent ethics guideline. Yeah, coming from the party that had a Prime Minister Trudeau who was found to have violated the ethics law. How many times? I don't even know. It was the most in Canadian history. Nothing was done because our most stringent ethics law lacked bite. There's no enforcement. There's no penalty. It's just like you've been found to have violated them. Tough luck. Oh my God. And let's not talk about right now the fact that there's a literal map of Carney and his conflicts of interest between Brookfield and all the other companies that he deals with in connection with the government in Canada. Moose on the Loose talks about it, and it's an incredible freaking chart. Nope. Let's turn a blind eye. See nothing, hear nothing. Now let's look at Minister Mark Miller, a fan favorite. I want you to pay attention to the way he answers the question, just his attitude, his behavior. This is a man who shows clear contempt for anyone who questions his decision, his authority. and who's definitely not willing to engage in discussion and answering questions on his actions. That kind of rhymes again. Jeez, I'm going to be a rapper.
Any comment on Israel killing?
No comment talking to you because
250 people killed? Any comment on the Canadians who've been fighting in the Israeli military? Mr. Miller?
Yeah, Eva, I know this is your shtick, but get out of my face.
Any comment on the Canadians fighting in the Israeli military and applying the War Crimes and Crimes Against Humanity Act?
Thanks, Eve. Have a good one.
So you don't care that they just committed endless...
to generate more likes on your fake social media as a fake journalist? Good job with that. I hope you sleep well at night, man.
No, I hope you sleep well at night. The level of contempt that is shown towards a private citizen who's simply there politely asking questions. I mean, one, Mark Miller, you're in public. Anyone can come and talk to you. Number two, he was being polite and asking an actual real serious question that has implications in Canada and abroad today. But instead of answering or saying, hey, I don't have any comments, right now I'm busy, let's schedule a moment, or here's my number, whatever. It's, you're a fake journalist, because obviously if you're not CBC or CTV, if you're not receiving money from the Liberal Party, you're fake. And number two, it's attacking your fake social media. It's belittling. I mean, I could say the same thing, you know, how about you get yourself a real job instead of just a government job, you know? It's petty, it's stupid, and it's unbecoming of his position as a minister. You're supposed to represent all people. That means even the people you disagree with, they are still your citizens. You don't treat them that way at all, dude, at all. Shame on you, bud.
Have you personally spoken with anyone?
Harassing me.
Thank you. Have you
I'm not
personally
harassing.
spoken?
You are an MP. You are elected. You need to be held accountable of your act. You crossed the floor. You're represented. No, I'm asking you. No, you're being angry.
Again, good for him for crossing the floor to the Liberals, because you know what? It shows. It shows that he fits just right in. The contempt, again, for questioning and for being held to account. This is, again, Juno News. This is an actual accredited news organization. These are professionals. And his first response is, stop harassing me. It's not harassment. One, again, you're in public. Two, you hold an elected public office. It is part of your duties, of your freaking tasks to answer your people. But number three, I get it. It gets a little hard when you're used to candy little soft-handed softball questions from the CBC and CTV when you actually have a news organization that's willing to ask you questions. Guys, Juno News is doing the Lord's work. That is what journalism should be about, holding elected officials to account. It's not supposed to be nice. It's not supposed to be easy breezy. You're supposed to be, to an extent, digging and combative and twisting as much as you can the knife until you get the freaking truth. Now, speaking of the truth, what has been happening behind closed doors? Why is there so many floor crossers? What's the playbook here? What's the truth?
And we are talking, look.
Are you talking to other MPs?
Yes, we're talking. There's lots of conversations happening.
How many more are you recruiting?
There's no number. We are talking to lots of people.
But you are recruiting. You are actively trying to get more.
We are welcoming. We have a mission, and I think the Prime Minister said it. We have a pragmatic mission that is attracting people who want to put their shoulder to the wheel, put away partisanship, and get to work building a country in a very mission-critical moment.
But there's
and
a
if
difference
people
between
want to do that,
there's a difference between attracting and going out and recruiting. Which one is it?
We're having conversations with people who are very confident in the Prime Minister's mission, and if they want to join and put their shoulder to the wheel, we welcome them to join the party. But I will just say this.
Sounds like it's a bit of both.
Well, look, we always welcome people into the party, but
it sounds like you're trying to recruit.
Well, we would welcome anyone in the party. I think that's you're right, but I would.
It took him a minute, but he finally got the truth out. You're right, dude. Just come out and say it. You guys are actively looking to recruit people. See, to me, this isn't so much about MPs having a change of heart and switching sides. This is a full-blown recruitment operation. Watching Mark Carney operate over the last year has given me deep vibes of hostile corporate takeover. The tactics employed are a stark departure from historical conventions and political norms. Think about it. Carney was the vice chair of Brookfield, an asset manager. We're talking Wall Street here, a real shark, a real wolf. And so far, he's ran Canada like you would a private equity firm who's trying to take over a company in a hostile bid. There's no honor, there's no respect for norms and culture. It's win at all costs. As long as it's legal, no matter how tight you have to walk the line between legality and criminality, well, everything is on the table to achieve the stated goal. So let's take a look through the timeline. Early 2025, the Liberals were losing support and were slated to lose big time. What do? They prorogue Parliament, a move that was done to avoid accountability in the House and to buy time for the Liberal Party to regroup and recoup. Mind you, Parliament prorogation is historically only supposed to be used when it serves the interests of Canada. Now, this Parliament prorogation served no interest for Canada because we're in the midst of apparently a crisis, an economic trade war crisis with the US, but the right answer was to shut down Parliament and go off to recess. There is no logical congruency here, other than this is to deflect and buy time for the Liberals to scramble and find solutions for their crumbling party. 3. Crown Trudeau's replacement, Mark Carney. Sure, there was a vote, but any serious contender was neutralized prior to the election by the party elites. Take Ruby Dalla, who was a serious contender. She ended up being disqualified by the party elites before the election on very dubious grounds.
Disgusting, it's shameless, and I don't care whether someone is a Liberal or a Conservative or an NDP. That's just something that was completely shameless, and I think that the people have spoken, and that is why people were so furious and so angry. That is the only way to describe having 5.8 million people in the last 96 hours come out in support, because what they did, it wasn't about me. This is an attack on democracy. This is an attack on people wanting to vote. We have a right to vote in this country. And if they wanted a coronation that badly from Mark Carney, I don't understand why have a leadership race that's turning out to be a sham.
And then there was also Chandra Arya, who also was disqualified by the party elites under, less than stellar reasons. It isn't an election when the only candidates are chosen by the Politburo. It's a setup. So all that was left in the running was Carney and Freeland, someone with deep personal ties to Carney, and whom Carney so happens to be the godfather of her son. Her only role was as a stand-in puppet, giving the illusion of a democratic process. No different than the tactics that are used in countries like Russia and North Korea. Then you activate the mainstream media weapon and craft the narrative that Poilievre is actually just Trump light when Carney is the best man to lead the country. I mean, we have Liberal delegates still repeating exactly that. Another completely manufactured narrative, may I add. Fear is a hell of a drug. And Canadians ate it all up, like maple taffy, tire d'érable for my Frenchies. Forget that Trump flat out said that he wanted the Liberals to win.
Is it Liberal? Maybe, but a Conservative until I got involved, because I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with a Liberal than the Conservative, if you want to know the truth.
And then, boom, you win yourself a minority government. First thing you do, you begin tabling authoritative bills to consolidate power and remove dissent. C2, C8, C9, C12, C22. I mean, this was not just a one-off bill. Then you realize that there's still too much pushback. A minority government won't do. So then you start actively trying to recruit Conservatives and NDP member of parliaments using the public purse, such as the case with the huge historic investments in the writing of Laurie Idlout in Nunavut, or other forms of bribery, which we don't quite have the details when it comes to the case of Michael Ma or Genereux or Gladue or D'Outremont. Then that's it. You got it. You've achieved your majority through tactics that have never been used or seen in Canadian history at the expense of voters and the democratic process. That's just a casualty for you to achieve your stated goal. Look, this is not the sign of a leader who cares about maintaining unity of a country and that cares about the will of the voters and the electorate, clearly. This is the tactics of a soulless corporate overlord who thinks that the end justifies the means.
Pierre Poilievre is all about purity tests. And Mark Carney is about the big tent. And I would say that having a big tent at this time, when there's a time of great global uncertainty, is an important thing to be doing, because we've got to have a government that's focused on the big issues that we're dealing with.
The big tent theory. It's the new narrative that is being used to rationalize the welcoming of vastly different ideologies under the Liberal Party.
It's clear that the Liberals under Carney are building a big tent, and apparently it's such a big tent you can drive a trucker convoy through it, because
this is also the vindication of all this fringe right-wing narrative that has been pushed so heavily on Canadians for so long. It turns out that being far right isn't fascism. It isn't a threat to democracy. It isn't being the enemy of the people, because you're here welcoming someone, by all account, who is the exemplified far-right theory that you've been pushing on us, and you welcome them with such open arms and with such fanfare that it automatically leads to the following conclusion. 1, you either believe that the far-right extremist concept was not such a thing of concern to begin with. 2, the ideas espoused by the other side are clearly not so vile and evil as to be unredeemable. Or 3, you actually don't really care about ideologies, so long as it brings you power. Personally, I think it's all 3. There was never a cuckoo right-wing problem in Canada, because we all know it was manufactured from the ground up. But it's also true that the Liberals have clearly shown that they have no deep-rooted convictions about anything, aside from the conviction that power is the only thing that matters. But like Lisa so eloquently said right here,
I have this vision in my head of Mark Carney, Pied Piper, right? He's got the flute and he's whistling all these people across. But in reality, don't forget, the Pied Piper, he attracted rats.
Leave it to you, Lisa. Kathleen, it's going to be tough.
So it's safe to say now that the Liberals don't stand on any particular strong ideological pillars anymore, other than just consolidating power. And for Mark Carney, he needs to be careful, because if you keep attracting people whose sole motive is to consolidate power, is to have more power, they have no ethos, convictions, or sets of value principles that they stand on, then don't be surprised at what's to come. I would not put it past any of these people to recross the floor or to stage a coup within the party to house Mark Carney the second it becomes convenient to do so. So for today's crazy liberal/leftist take of the day, well, we got to listen to this. It blew my mind, not in a good way, but in the way that I'm running out of headspace to fit the amounts of letters that are being crafted here.
They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent. This is callous. This is callous because the very Liberal government...
Whoa, okay, I've been getting questions actually in my social media DMs, Instagram mostly, HRH_Elliot, go follow. Is this true? Is this real? Well, yes, that is absolutely real. This is an elected member of parliament, sure, for the NDP party, but nonetheless. And the next question was, what is MMIWGS2L2? Yeah, it means missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual. I'm not even going to talk on that because it's self-evident, the amounts of crazy required to start crafting such a thing. But I will talk about genocide of what? This MP is claiming that there's a genocide happening right now? Those are some wild claims, like bold, like insane level claims. I mean, we're talking about Canada. The only genocide I could think of starts with M and ends in AIDS. But I digress. How can we have MPs that are making up literal lies like that go on the air? I wonder why the public trust in our institutions is at an all-time low. And this, by the way, vindicates Jordan Peterson, who predicted this years ago.
Listen, that the LGBT set of acronyms keeps growing, eh? And it's kind of a form of its own parody in some sense. It's like, well, I'm oppressed. It's like, yeah, you are. And well, I'm oppressed too. Yeah, you're also oppressed. And maybe I'm even oppressing you, being part of this other marginalized group. But at least we share our oppression. Well, I'm also oppressed. Well, so am I. I'm oppressed too. It's like.
Yeah, that's the state of Canada right now. I wish I was making this up. From the NDP to the Liberals, it is a big, fat, retarded bus that is being driven off a cliff, and we're just here for the ride, apparently. Now, if you want to hear about some crazy happenings down south with our American neighbors and how this was achieved, well, click on the video right here. I break down the entire modus operandi, the entire 3-step process that Trump uses to negotiate deals. It's quite uncanny, actually. But for the time being, I'm going to go hide from the Liberal convention. You guys enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.